like at that party that we were at, they're like, "Oh, you have a podcast?" And I'm like, "Yeah, but I just don't want to be that guy." Like, "Yeah, I have a podcast." But then again, how is it that some of my closest friends who are also musicians don't know that we do a podcast kind of about music stuff? It's kind of funny. Like, well, okay.
Yeah. Like when we did that party a couple of weeks ago, was it like a month ago? I don't even know anymore. Years ago. It was like, like people are like, "You guys have a podcast?" We're like, "Yeah, we do."
Yeah.
How are you?
Well, no. One, Bill was like,
Yeah.
I like all the stuff except for the music stuff. Well, you would. You're a fucking drummer.
Oh, yeah. Oh, there. Shots fired.
There it is. Welcome to 2 Shots and a Royalty Check, brought to you by Venmo, Your Money, Your Move, and Liquid Death, Murder Your Thirst. Let's get back into it. And we're back.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry.
Speaking of back.
Hey, are you back in the dungeon?
I am back in... I'm back! I'm back in the city.
Oh, congratulations.
Back in the city.
You washed the suburbs off?
I returned the house. I returned the dog.
Yeah.
To my friends.
Yeah.
All in one piece. However, I think in our last episode we were talking about how I had to jet up to Aspen for a little bit. Well, I did not take the dog. So the dog stayed overnight at this place called Hobnob, which is like a kennel, and she stayed there for a few days. And so I got 2 days off, which was amazing.
Yeah.
So parents, I get it. I know that's a joke of like, when people are like, "Oh yeah, I have a dog, so yeah, I know what it's like." Parents, no, not at all. But so remember where I had to do vulva rubbing on the dog? Because when I first got to the house, there was like some red spots and itching, and there was a cone of shame, and I'm really good at it.
Were you
and
wearing
I
the cone of
fixed it.
shame, or was the dog in the cone of shame?
After I did it, I was. Yeah. So I had to rub her vulva with ointment. Oh my God.
Yeah.
And, it's very difficult. But I fixed it, right? The first one. So she comes back from the kennel, and she has it again.
Oh, no.
She's licking again. So for the last few days of staying there, I had to do it again. I'm like, God damn it. I am just a few days away from returning this dog. That cone of shame is not going on. I'm not going to the vet. We are fixing this fucking problem.
Yeah.
And I think I did.
Nice.
And then... And of course, my friend's flight was canceled. The first one was canceled. The second one was canceled.
Yeah.
They had to come out of Lisbon. Then they were going to do it one day later. Then it became 2 days earlier. So the whole time, I'm checking schedules. And by the way, then they ended up going, instead of through Jersey, they went through Toronto.
Yeah.
Which meant that I got to see YYZ.
Ooh. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
you need to pronounce it correctly.
I got to listen to the Rush song over and over.
Pronounce it correctly. YYZ.
YYZ.
Thank you.
Sorry. I'm very sorry for all the people who are not American English speakers. No. YYZ.
YYZ.
So yes.
Please tell me that was a banjo version of that, because it had a little.
It's because I'm trying to hear all the like half tones behind it.
There was an article came out recently that I just saw that said that Gene Simmons from Kiss gave Geddy Lee a bass lesson.
Oh my God.
He said he really didn't know like you could play a G in two different places, and I'm just like,
shut the fuck up, Gene.
Just sometimes,
shut the fuck up, Gene.
Sometimes my head hurts with some of this stuff. Oh my gosh. Anyway,
God of Thunder
and rock and roll.
Oh,
I do love when Kiss plays that song. I talked to a friend of mine late last week, and she is cramming to learn a whole bunch of Kiss songs for things she's doing around Halloween. And I was like, "Are you Paul or Ace?" And she's like, "Fucking Ace, baby." I'm like, "Yeah,
yeah,
as you should be." So even though Ace is kind of a disaster, back in the day,
it's
hell of
totally.
such a fun fucking guitar player. Anyway, YYZ.
Yeah. Oh no. Let's talk about Kiss. No.
By all means, why don't you steamroll my conversation?
No, it's fine.
Dick?
No, this is a conversation. That means we both talk. Kiss is so funny. My brother and I loved Kiss.
Yeah.
Growing up, my brother loved him more than I did.
Yeah.
But I mean, the whole thing about the Phantom in the park.
Oh yeah, Kiss versus the Phantom of the Park. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we got the Kiss trading cards. That happened around the Alive album.
Yes.
With all the four separate albums, which is the one that had
Four
Beth
Faces
on
album.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we were totally into Destroyer and the early stuff because my brother and my cousin really liked Kiss.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'm just going to say it. I know. King of the hot takes here, but I thought Kiss sucked when I was younger. I was I mean, because I was into Zeppelin and I was into Maiden and Priest, and I was like, okay, this is okay.
Yeah.
But Paul Stanley's voice didn't impress me.
Yeah.
I was not, as a guitarist, I was not influenced by Ace Frehley at all.
Yeah.
And I got what they were doing. It's theater. I get it. But I was like, but musically, who gives a fuck?
Yeah.
It would be years later before I was like, oh, simple pop songs and harder rock.
Yeah.
Yeah, the simplicity is what sold it. But at the time, I was like, this is too simple to be good.
You're like me in my prog cunt years.
Yeah, I was totally a metal cunt about it. Yeah, I was totally like, man, none of this is at drop D, first of all. And
well, this isn't sludgy enough for me.
And I just, but I mean, kids, if you didn't grow up during the Kiss phase, the whole thing about Kiss being unmasked and what they actually look like. Oh my God. And then when it actually happened, they were so ugly.
Oh, boy.
Not good looking gentlemen. I don't want to say ugly, but go ahead and put it back on. Was the idea.
Yeah.
The East Coast boys. And by the way, all very older. All much older than we thought.
Oh, yeah.
They were our parents' age, and we didn't know that.
But I think that's one of my at this age, in my late 30s, one of my
Edit that out, Kelsey.
She's going to bleep that out. What am I? Beep, 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 beep,
I
beep,
will
beep.
not.
That's the lying button. One of my favorite things from a marketing standpoint, Kiss is brilliant. I mean, I get a guy that kind of looks like Paul and kind of sounds like him and put him up there. I don't even need Paul Stanley anymore. I just have the Star Child up there. And, get him a stern bush like Paul's and, have at it, you don't need the original guys. And now we know that it's not the original guys because, Ace and Peter haven't been around for... I mean, I saw the reunion tour of the original four in the 1900s. And so it's been over 25 years at least, I would imagine, at this point in time. Maybe 22, something like that, since that tour. And I still don't care. I go see a Kiss show. I'm getting exactly what I want out of a Kiss show. It's explosions. It's stupid, dumb entertainment. It's like an Alice Cooper show, except Alice Cooper has a better band.
True.
But it's there could be anybody up there pretending to be Kiss.
Yeah.
And as long as it kind of sounds like it and kind of looks like it, I'm going to buy into the theater of it. So at some point in time, Gene Simmons can retire, not tell anybody, take his owner's cut, and put, Douchey McDouchebag up there on bass, spitting blood and blowing fire and frying his hair, and send him up to the rafters to sing God of Thunder instead.
Do you remember a few years ago, this happens in the tribute band community all the time.
Yeah.
Where they get a little bit too close to saying we're like the band we're tributing and the flyer isn't really clear about it.
Yeah.
There were people who were demanding a refund because they thought Kiss was playing in Florida and it was mini Kiss.
Oh no.
It was all the little people who are, by the way, they're a fucking amazing tribute band.
Yeah.
If you
they
don't know
actually
who Mini
play,
Kiss
though.
is,
They play they've got little cardboard instruments, right? They don't actually play the songs.
I think they play. I don't know.
Do they play them now?
I believe so.
To the internet.
But anyway, yeah, if you don't know who Mini Kiss is, go ahead and Google that shit because it's fantastic. It's fantastic. But there were people that were who were pissed off about it. That they thought they were paying to see Kiss.
They do actually play. For some reason,
yeah,
I
they
thought,
play.
Yeah,
there's
I apologize.
There's a Detroit
I'm a
Rock
douchebag.
City version that they do, and I've heard that one. It's pretty good.
Yeah,
But
okay.
yeah,
Fuck
there
yeah.
were people that were like, "Oh, that was." It wasn't stated because it said like Kiss, and then it said Mini right above it or whatever.
But that's the joke. It's the Mini is Mini. We're fine
It's
here.
Mini is Mini. Don't you get it,
Yeah.
you guys? And like, yeah, it was a problem. It was a problem.
Yeah.
That a lot of these people are going to go through. But yeah, when Kiss finally unmasked,
Yeah.
and they did like Tears Are Falling, I think, or let's see, Heaven's on Fire. That may
Yeah.
have been the first one. But like the videos that they came out where it was like the first, and Vinnie Vincent, I think, was in it.
Yeah, I think so.
At that point?
Yeah.
And so like then they were like in bold color. Like I think it's Heaven's on Fire. Lick It Up. Oh my God, yes.
Oh,
if
yeah.
you don't know what we're talking about, go Google Lick It Up, and you'll see them in like sort of bright colored stuff,
Very
and they're still
80s
wearing
attire.
boots. Yeah, but like they look like you know, like your aunties playing. Like they look like aunties because they still have like makeup residue. It seems like.
Yeah.
They were still wearing some makeup.
Yeah. There you had
Just
to.
wasn't.
Yeah.
Just wasn't full makeup.
Don't want to wait till you love me, baby.
I know, and then they had a big comeback with like
Yeah.
Domino, and I used to play
Revenge,
Domino
yeah.
live.
That's a Domino is probably my favorite song on that record. And then they had the
By the
song
way, does
that was
not
in,
hold up. Go and look at those lyrics.
Oh yeah, I know. It's and it's Gene singing them too. But I love the guitar on that tune. But then you have the Bill and Ted Bogus Journey song. God gave rock and roll to us. To you. Yeah.
Give rock and roll to put it in your soul. Yeah. It's good stuff.
Yeah.
Kiss, but like Kiss again is singular. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
they really, from the marketing standpoint,
Oh,
how
yeah.
long they've got to do it. By the way, I will say this though: there was one part, and this actually came up a few weekends ago when we were seeing Foo Fighters. I was in room 321.
Oh no.
And I was like, I wonder if anyone of my Gen X friends know about it. I was like, so what do you think of when I say 3, 2, 1? And so one of them was like, Contact. I was like, yes, 3, 2, 1, Contact.
Yeah.
And it was a show on PBS. And this was like right after Zuma, 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 Zuma. So when us kids were home, when there were no parents or whatever, we'd be watching a little PBS in the afternoon.
Yeah.
And one of the shows, 3, 2, 1, Contact, I think we can maybe find this on YouTube somewhere.
Yeah.
But they had a breakdown of showing a concert being set up. Like the live show, the
wow.
lights, the
Yeah.
staging, all of it.
Yeah.
I've always been a sucker for behind the scenes of music.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm super young. I've got to be 7 or 8 years old.
Yeah.
And I am just freaking out. And it was Kiss.
Get out.
And
wow.
they were showing Kiss being set up and the big lights that KI, you know, you wanted the best band in the world, you got it.
Yeah.
And it would then the Kiss show and the pyro, but they showed all of it like loading into the arena and the guys in black shirts setting it up,
Roadies.
all the stuff that goes
Yeah.
into a real concert.
Yeah.
And so if you can find that on 321 Contact, maybe I'll find it and I'll link it because it was one of my favorite things. And I was like, oh yeah, they're a real band, obviously, with a real stage show. And but I always got in trouble with Paul, with our dear buddy Paulie.
Yo, yeah.
He is a Kiss fanatic,
Yeah.
and he plays Kiss on stage. He plays it like it's an arena all the time.
Yep.
And we would get into little tiffs about where I'm like, they're kind of hacky.
Yeah,
And he's like,
I get
Kiss is the best band in the world, dude. You don't fucking understand.
Yeah, the greatest band in the world, Kiss. I understand. I mean, I used to love. There was a guy I went to college with. I wasn't really a Kiss fan until I was in college, and we would do like, you know, we would do Maiden stuff and we'd do Queensryche stuff, and he's like, man, I grew up on Kiss. I want to play 2 guitar Kiss songs. and he's from the East Coast, and we learned a fuckload of Kiss songs, and that was my point where I was like, and then I started, and then a couple of Halloween parties I would play, I'd dress up like Ace, you got to do the spaceman, come on, and it just became a way of existing. Now, there's an unfortunately embarrassing photo my mother took one year when I took my younger brother, with me to a Halloween party where I dressed up as Ace and he dressed up as Peter, and
Hi, Peter.
He is holding up a copy on CD of Kiss Alive. Which one?
3 or 4?
3.
3. Yes.
And
my first guess was 3.
Yeah.
You weren't watching in the Zoom.
Yeah, I was watching. I just was I was building for audio suspense. Now, my personal favorite is Alive 2. Alive 3 is very much the era we were just talking about, where the makeup came off and they God gave rock and roll to use, like late 80s, early 90s Kiss. But yeah. And I don't believe Ace and Peter were even on Alive 3.
No. And my brother, when we did it in Halloween, my brother was Peter Criss.
Yeah.
Because my brother wanted to be a drummer and I was a guitarist.
Yeah.
So we were going along the Van Halen lines, the Kiss lines.
Van Halen.
So he would pick, whatever it was. So he was Peter Criss, and then I picked Gene because I was a big dude. Because I was
that makes sense.
I was bigger, and so and our babysitter was Raggedy Ann, and I had some fake blood, which I think was probably ketchup. and so I did the whole my hair was in like the kabuki thing.
Yeah.
We both did our makeup and all that. And so at the party, my parents were partying with people.
Yeah.
And but we had that's how much of a party it was. They got a babysitter for us for like upstairs.
Yeah.
Which normally did not happen. And she was all dressed as Raggedy Ann, and they were going in and out. I think they were going to bars and coming back home and probably driving drunk or whatever. But so in my peak of Halloween celebratoriness, I did the whole Gene Simmons spit blood all over her. And she lost her fucking mind. She was like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Don't worry, it's ketchup." But there's like ketchup all over her.
And then you had a white shag carpet.
And I'm sure she was, I'm sure she had a party to go to later and was going to hook up with someone.
Yeah, nice. That's so. Did you ever hear the version of Van Halen's first record that Gene produced? Mm-hmm. Have you heard it? It's up on the internet.
Oh, yeah.
It sounds like a Kiss record. I mean, it's definitely...
She's a Woman is basically a Kiss song.
Yeah. I mean, it is... the way
starts
it's
with the bass riff.
Yeah, it's really interesting to hear it and like compare it to like Destroyer and that kind of stuff. It's like it is a Kiss record. It's just and then of course, I mean, I'm a huge fan of we know what a big Van Halen fan I am. So that first Van Halen record, the way they decided to do it, so much fucking better.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Plus the panning. Did Templeman do the first record?
Let me take a look.
I'm trying to remember if Ted Templeman was there or it was Diver Down.
I love
when he
Diver
got there,
Down.
but yeah, I always found it funny how Gene Simmons would constantly hold on to that. I discovered Van Halen.
Ted Templeman, first record.
And but you got to give it to him. He did.
Yeah,
like he heard the demo and worked with him on the record. And he did like that. That was the other thing about Gene Simmons is like a lot of his bluster was true.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, the story, the legend that Kiss built about the whole, looking for people in the paper and in New York and, and then doing it the way that they did it and becoming a marketing geniuses. It just, he was right though. He did do it.
Yeah. It's interesting.
And then married a Playmate.
I mean, yeah. Are they married or have they just been together forever?
Yeah, I don't know if they're doing that whole Goldie Kurt Russell thing.
Yeah, Goldie Kurt Russell.
We're like, I choose you every day instead of a piece of paper under God in the court.
Yeah, a legally binding contract. I choose you with my spirit and heart. Instead.
I like that though.
Yeah,
I'm that way too.
As
someone who's been married before. Sorry, I don't have 2 ex-wives like you do. Drink.
How dare you? I'm trying to reframe that in my enlightened state in my older years, which is which I haven't quite figured out how to do that yet, but it is definitely an interesting adventure.
I was able to do it by saying I had a starter marriage and everyone should have one.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, the gal I got together with, she also had a starter marriage. And like,
Okay.
you should have one of those. But there's no need to do it again. Like, I did that.
Yeah, I just like to learn things the hard way, apparently.
I just, I'm a Jew. I wanted to smash the glass.
It's chuppah. It was built for a reason. Anyway.
Oh, my God. Okay, so I picked up my friends from the airport. I do think they're moving to either Spain or Portugal.
Fuck yes, they should. Hell yes.
I was like, so do I just have the house now, or what's going on?
Do I
own a dog now?
You do not want the house.
I don't.
You do not want the house.
Not in its current condition.
Nope.
And I'd just be a pool guy and a dog walker and a house cleaner, and it's crazy. But so I went to go pick them up, and they'd been flying for 15 hours and going through different places.
I'm so
I was
sorry.
like, I'm just gonna go to the cell phone lot, and I'll, when you guys get out, if you want to have a smoke or wait or whatever, then you just text me, and I'm just like 5 or 10 minutes out.
Yeah.
And they're like, what is a cell phone lot? I'm like, does no one know what this is? So going to DIA.
Yeah.
There used to be a place where you just pull off to the side before you and go into arrivals or whatever. So you're not circling the airport the whole time, and you can just wait. And you just park your car.
There's a Dunkin'
and they call
Donuts
it a
there?
cell phone lot. Yeah. And so that now they've moved it to basically a truck stop where there's a Wendy's and shit.
Yeah.
But it's a cell phone lot.
Yeah.
And everybody's like, what does that mean? I was like, it just means that you got a bunch of people TikToking in their fucking cars. That's really what it is. So,
exactly.
and so, I got out and I was waiting there, and it's, DIA is halfway to Kansas.
Yeah,
and
pretty much.
So the wind is kicking up, and it's so funny because some guy got out of his truck, and I was like, I wonder if everyone really is TikToking, because I'm like, I'm going to totally TikTok for like 15 minutes here and wait until my texts go off.
Yeah.
And I heard there's this chick on TikTok that like she lays down on the ground and she's like, give him the old fucking razzle dazzle. She's just hilarious. She has this positive mindset of like, if you only got 10% to give today and you give it all, you've given 100%.
Aww.
She's great.
I love that.
I heard her. She's great. Yeah. She does this kind of yelling thing. But I heard her on his phone. I was like, oh, fucking A, he is TikToking. It was great.
In Parks and Rec, when they have Andy Samberg on there as the park ranger who speaks really loud about everything. Yeah. And then sorry for yelling. It's just the fun. And
How do I tell him I have no inner monologue?
just the delivery anyway, I love that stuff. Anyway. So they're back there. You're
back.
Free.
I think they're
free.
moving. They're like, it's so, like, people are so wonderful. The food isn't poison.
I love it.
They're halfway. They got one step out of America, I think.
Yeah.
Like one foot out.
Yeah.
But I mean, they also drove, like, they're like, we drove like 1,900 miles around Spain and Portugal. And I'm like,
that's impressive.
I haven't driven 1,900 miles in America in the last year.
Yeah.
And I live here.
Yeah. And I mean, it is a
and
vast
that's adding
and
the
barren
100 miles
landscape.
to go pick them up.
Yeah, exactly. Getting out of the middle of Kansas in the airport. Yeah, totally.
But I was able to, so just so everyone knows, to put a button on it.
Yeah.
The dog was returned in full working order.
Oh, good. No vulva rubbing necessary afterwards?
Nope, everything's fine. The house was perfect.
Good.
Lawn was mowed. I actually harvested the garden. I vacuumed. I cleaned everything. Dude, I'm a great house sitter.
Yeah,
I'm a really good house sitter.
That is good for me to know for future.
Yeah, when they came home, and I cleaned their fridge out. I pulled up stuff from the pantry. I was like,
I ate everything in the fridge.
So you can have some things for breakfast, so you don't have to go to the store. Everything's fine. Your coffee maker's clean. You'll have fresh coffee, so you don't have to worry. Yeah, it was
there you
great.
go. Perfect.
Super fantastic.
That sounds like thanks for being a gracious, guest host at their house.
Yeah.
It's like, and good riddance to all of the crazy suburban crap.
Yeah. Well, I just figured this means that the next time they ask me, I can be like, no.
I already did it once.
You're
not a suburbs fan, are you?
It's going to be a no from me, Bob. No, well, I mean, like I said, I grew up kind of in the suburbs. I grew up, in the suburbs. I totally did, just on the bad side of the tracks.
Yeah, fair.
But, it's just been so long. I'm just not used to people. Yeah. Okay, so, like, one of the things I really missed about downtown is, like, junkie walking through the alley screaming.
That helps you sleep at night?
Well, I just know what that is. I just know what that is. And sirens and stuff, I just know what that is. And then I know if it's a bad thing and we got to, get the police involved or whatever.
Yeah.
But out there are kids randomly just screaming, like little girls in their backyard just, and fight or flight just starts hitting me. Like, is that little girl okay?
Yeah.
I'm not used to hearing a child scream.
Yeah.
And then I was by a park where there are hundreds of 8-year-olds playing soccer and screaming.
Fantastic. Congratulations.
Yeah. And dogs, one dog starts going, it starts hitting off all the other dogs going.
Oh, yeah.
That also doesn't happen down here. If I hear a dog whining down here, I'm like, we need to call that building and make sure those people let their dog in. Are they okay?
Yeah. Yeah.
But what was really weird is the first night I was back in my condo and back in my place, I was sitting there and I was like, I felt really weird that it didn't feel weird.
Oh.
Like I was sitting on the floor watching Hulu and fucking just hanging out, and I was like, this doesn't feel foreign. And I had not done that for 31 days. It should feel weird to me.
Yeah.
It felt comfortable.
Yeah.
But I mean, it should feel like normally. I just realized over the last 2 or 3 years, I have spent a month or 2 or 3 every year living somewhere else than my home.
Yeah.
And so it's been kind of like a partial tour every year where I've lived somewhere else and had to, get used to a new kitchen, a new bathroom, have my new bags, whatever.
Yeah.
But I'm just amazed at how quick I assimilate back into something where I'm like, I did not do this for the last 4 weeks, and this doesn't feel strange to me at all.
I remember feeling that about touring as well. Like, I come home, I'm a professional dog shit picker-upper person, edging the lawn, doing all the domestic bliss tasks. And then I get on a plane and I fly to another city, and I'm playing that night, and I have the morning off to myself, and I know to go out and find a diner and get coffee. And I'm always off by myself for a few hours before the show because I like to have time to myself when I'm out. And, and switching between those two, It never felt weird to do either of them, Even if I was out for a month and a half, come back home, it's like, oh, dog took a shit, gotta go pick it up, It didn't feel weird because it's just, because you've spent so much time going between those two things. I'm home, I'm somewhere else. I'm home, I'm somewhere else. I'm sure the dog vulva rubbing probably wasn't something you were intensely used to, but It makes sense that we get into these and I find the departure from the mundane and the routine to be enjoyable.
Yeah.
So and I'm sure those 31 days you were probably like, I'm going to get so much shit done.
Oh, I barely got one of my Mac screens cleaned. That was the big thing. And the whole idea was to get all of the stuff together for all the stuff I need to do in the next few weeks or whatever.
Yeah.
Because I'm moving into a new media studio. Oh. But I wanted to say something really quick here.
Yeah.
So I did a post not too long ago.
Oh.
And it was on the Facebook where I'm all private. You can't find me.
Lockdown.
Where I realized I did this post. I said, I just did the math. I've had to do something nearly every single day for well over half of my years on Earth, 26 of them.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm only 32.
Yep.
But
exactly.
But I've done it for over 26 years. Okay.
Yeah.
And I imagined, and every single day, and I just had to do it again. I did this post, and it was like, this was the 9,490th time I had to do the thing I hate the most.
Oh, wow.
I know, and you got to figure out what it is, right? So I was like, I hated it as a kid. I hated it as a teen. I hated it as a young adult. And as whatever comes after that, whatever I am now, I don't know. I don't know if I'm an adult. But
a gentleman of a certain age.
The task always fell on me, and it's on my to-do list.
Mm-hmm.
I dread it every time. It's absolutely necessary.
Oh, no.
It must be done. I don't bitch out loud about it, but it was just that night I realized, I was like, let me do the math. I hate it. I hate this thing, and I have to do it every single day. There's been a few times I haven't had to do it, like if I was in the hospital. There was a little bit of time where I didn't have to do it.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's what it is. Pick up shit.
Oh.
I have been the dog pooper picker-upper.
The cat box
I
cleaner
have had the cat. I clean the cat boxes. I'm that guy every single time, whether it's my cat, someone else's, when I've been with other people.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, I am that person.
Yeah.
So, but here's what's funny, is I was just realizing that, okay, so I get away from the cats, right? Ooh, he gets away from the cats.
Ooh.
I'm picking up dog shit twice a day. I still had to pick up the shit every single day of my goddamn life.
Man.
Yeah. Isn't that amazing? And like, I figured out how many times I've actually had to do it.
Yeah.
And by the way, I had to do it today again. And I have had to do it right when I got back home. But yes, and it is the thing I hate most in the world is I don't want to pick up shit.
Yeah.
And it's not with my bare hand. I get it. I have the bag or I have a scooper, whatever.
Yeah.
And by the way, my first business that I ever started was a poop scooper business.
Oh, congratulations.
I did
you
flyers
young
and stuff because I was doing like lawns.
Yeah.
And, you know, whatever, like the old lady across the block from me, she wanted to pay me to do her lawn. I was like,
Hell
great.
yeah.
But
Awesome.
I realized I would be doing these lawns and I would be mowing dog shit.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know what? You need a pooper scooper. And I had one of those shikunk pooper scoopers that has like the two
claw.
things on the bottom and it's like an X.
Yeah. Ugh.
So that was like my first business was a pooper scooper, and I made a ton of money on it.
Yeah. Good.
But I've had to pick up a lot of shit in my time, dude.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I totally feel. I mean, like when my boy had a guinea pig, that was a whole other level of things because you give them this little bedding to roam around in, and they just, wantonly with these little pellets, and he would sit with him. He'd have him on a towel on his bed, and like they'd be hanging out. He'd petting the pig, and okay, time to put the pig back in his room, and he'd pick him up, and he'd put him in there, and there'd be 4 or 5 little giblets just sitting there right on the towel, and he probably peed. The guinea pig, not my kid. And it just, I mean, like, and then, like once a week, I'm putting the pig in a thing over here to keep him safe, and, and I'm cleaning out all that and putting new shit in there so he can just shit again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's not their fault, right? They got to shit. Somebody's got to shit. Everybody's got to shit.
Everybody's got to.
By the way, it doesn't count my own.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I got to clean up my own too. And I know when I go to the bathroom, it's everywhere. So it's important for me to clean it up. Spackling the walls,
one of my friends I was telling this to, he was like, yeah, and you don't have kids. I was like, yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
I would have had to do that too.
Yeah, there's a point you get to where you're like, I've had just about every possible fluid in the world upon me.
Yeah,
and this does not bother me anymore. We've got a friend who just got.
Well, hey,
himself
I toured. I did too.
Yeah. No number 2s on the bus, asshole. We've got a friend who just recently, like he was toying with the idea of getting a puppy forever, and he was just like, no, I can't do the shit, man. I just can't do it. I can't pick it up. It disgusts me. And he got himself the cutest little corgi. Oh. That is the most adorable dog in the world, and this man is smitten with this puppy. He is in love with that, and he's just so happy. And he's like, I would do anything for this dog. I'm
sucker.
like, I get it, you sucker. Yeah, I mean, I'm the same way with my dog. So
that's the thing is, I love animals as much as I bitch about them. I have had them my whole life.
Yeah, totally.
And that's except for that the window a few years where the band was really going, and I just didn't. I didn't want that because we were touring all the time, and I didn't have someone at home to take care of anything, and that was lovely. And but yeah, it's funny because it was funny because so the dog that I was watching, we would walk through the parks, and there's like this beltway, and really nice like walkways, but then on the side of it are really high grass. She loved to shit in the high grass, which means that I have to go step where the snakes and the rabbits and the stuff and things are to go clean up the poop. Well, I'm telling my friends this, and they're like, I mean, you don't have to pick it up over there. And I'm like, you guys, yes, you do.
Yeah.
Like, for as much of a rule breaker as I am, I'm like, no, that's not cool. Pick up the dog shit.
Pick up the poop. Yeah, please,
and it's not
you?
like someone's yard.
Yeah.
This is it's a field.
Public
but
space,
it's still
yeah.
like, come on. Just, I got the bag. It's on the chain. Let's
Totally.
go.
Yeah.
So I would have to go pick it up. And, they're like, well, if it was in the high grass, fuck that. I'm not stepping over snakes to pick up shit. I'm like, but I care about this dog, and I care about the world.
Yeah. I was out walking one of the dogs this last day or so, and we were walking, and there's like 3 or 4 little snakes running all over the place, and then at one point in time I held on to one of the big dog's leash a little tighter because I watched Black Widow just kind of walk slowly across his path, and I was like, okay, we're gonna let that guy go, because I mean, it's all out there. And then there was some other spider I saw. It was like, like, this spider is to keep away from this one. This is deadly for your. And it's like,
a brown spider with a black widow. Yeah,
yeah, exactly. So it's just
that was my problem. Is that like the walks were so unenjoyable because I'm just trying to keep the dog
You're on high
alive.
alert. Yeah, exactly.
And by the way, she loves rabbits. And can I just say, listen, all right, old guy rant, here we go.
Old man rant.
Rabbits highly underestimate how fucking slow they are. They think they can run fast. Like, there would be a little bunny rabbit just sitting there, and like the dog would like come. I'm hiding her name. I don't know why. It's Simi, but like Simi would come up to it's not like she's listening. Be like, you fucking you didn't ask my permission. But like Simi would see it. And I like sometimes they're really far away, and I'm like, I can't see it, but I know she's like gets into pointer position.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, I'm gonna get that fucking rabbit. And when she would go after a rabbit, I'm a big, tall dude.
Yeah.
She would pull me like I almost went down a few times.
Oof. Yeah.
And so I did this little. By the way, again, very good house guest. I did a whole Casa de whatever report for my friends about like how many walks there were, how many times there was torrential downpours, how many times I cleaned the pool, how many times the yard was mowed, all this. But one of the things was rabbits chased 12, rabbits caught 0.
0. Yeah, exactly. That's
because
perfect.
I am not letting her catch a fucking rabbit. And and there was like this shed by the junior high over there. Yeah. And there's clearly a warren under there with rabbits. Yeah. Because every time we walked by it, she was just like,
nice use of the appropriate terminology there, my friend.
Well, thank you very much.
Watch a lot of Watership Down when you were a kid?
Sure. A little Velveteen Rabbit, too.
Oh, yeah.
I lost a Grammy to them, you motherfuckers. Anyway, so she couldn't catch the rabbit because of me, but every single time, had I not been there, that rabbit was fucking dead. There was no way that rabbit was getting away.
Yeah.
Like every single time, the rabbit was so stupid. Mm-hmm. Sorry, rabbits, if you're listening, but you're fucking stupid and you're not quick enough.
Yeah.
And no wonder you need to fuck so much because some of you just don't know the game. This dog would have killed you 100% of the time.
Yep.
100% of the time.
Yeah.
Speaking of Grammys.
Uh-huh.
So you shared with me a fun thing this week.
I did.
About that ghostwriter, I think is the name of the...
Yeah, I think is the name of it,
I loosely am putting very heavy quotes on the songwriter or the producer.
Yeah, exactly.
As the AI song that features Drake and The Weeknd.
Yeah.
And that the story that was sent around everywhere, wasn't just you, but was that song, which is an AI-generated song using false AI-generated voices of Drake and The Weeknd, had been submitted to the Grammys, and it was going to be eligible. This was the big story that was floating around on Uprocks and some of your other finer sites.
Yeah, that's such a...
Metalhead or whatever.
I just find it interesting, like... with the weird things that we do as human beings. I mean, because I know there was also There was a I can't remember, it was a piece of art or something like that was up for some award or something like that, but because it was derivative of some other artist's work, even though this person had programmed it into an AI and kind of made it themselves using a hodgepodge of other influences, it was not eligible for that prize, and it wasn't copyrightable, and it was public domain because it had been used or something along those lines. It was no longer his image, even though he'd done all the work to kind of, sculpt it within the tool that he was using, It's all fascinating to me because it's just kind of like Wild West, there's no fucking rules out here yet,
Yeah, and yet there kind of are.
Kind of.
So I am on, obviously, the copyright and the legal side of these things, because that's kind of the work I do with sync and clearance and stuff. Yeah. And I always find it funny when, like, DJs get pissed off about, like, getting dinged for their work. They're like, I made that using their video and their song, but I made it. And I made it into something else, and I'm promoting them and helping that artist or whatever. And it's like, you didn't make shit. You remixed it. Like, and I know you think that's making something, but making something is not creating something. You took someone else's creation.
It's derivative
and you made
work.
Something out of it, and it's a derivative work, and we have rules for that. There is a way to do that correctly, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, this article goes out, and so the conversation that Stu and I had, I was basically saying, first of all, anyone could put this press release out that said I submitted it to the Grammys, because no one could prove it. The online submittal thing, I am a Grammy voter. I'm in the producer's wing. And so there are at least 10,000 submissions every year. And so the way the process works is that labels submit the songs, albums, artwork, all of the different categories, right? They submit that. It goes to, like, sort of different work groups. Those work groups decide on which ones we're going to kind of decide out of that. Then you get, like, a huge thing in the mail, and it's still in the mail a lot of times. And then you pick stuff to put into nomination, and that's how you get into a Grammy nomination. And then the board, the little work groups, they sort of decide how those votes were tallied and put a little extra on them. This is where people get pissed off at the Grammys, because there are like decision boards in each one of the wings. Classical music, Hawaii, all that kind of stuff, right? And then they decide who gets the nominations and how many nominations there are. That has changed over the years. Sometimes it was 5, sometimes it's 10, sometimes it's somewhere in between there. Okay, so that's how it works. But, like, anyone can put a recording up for nomination. So what it is for is consideration. You are up for consideration. And then us Grammy voters, we get dinged on the Grammy website to go listen to these things, to go see these things. It's like, again, it's really hard to listen to 10,000 songs, you guys. So if you wonder why, like, really popular songs make it to the Grammys, it's because we fucking heard them. It's because we know that song, and it's already on your radar. And when you're a Grammy voter, there are some songs that happen during the year that you're like, oh yeah, this is going to come up. Like, this is so good, it should come up. Or you start thinking that way, where you're like, God, this mix, man. This is going to be in my consideration category. So
totally.
Anyway, so that's what I kind of told Stu, is that, like, anyone could have done this. There's no way to, like, say that you actually submitted it. Like, there's no way to prove it. I mean, you could show the online receipt, the OEP or whatever. However, the next day, just so everyone knows, that Mason Jr. guy that's running the Grammys now, it absolutely is not fucking eligible. The thing was wrong. The absolute the site was wrong. The Harvey Mason Jr. is Recording Academy head, and he basically had to come out and say, this name of the song is called "Heart on the Sleeve," and he had to basically come out and say, no, it's not eligible because those voices were not cleared, so the masters were not cleared. Now, if this was like a mix-up, a real mashup of their songs or whatever, that could be eligible. But they weren't cleared from the labels. That means the master was not eligible. And no, it will not be up for a Grammy. It will not be nominated. It will not win. None of them will. And so there you go. That's how that works.
That is dead in the water, and how dare you?
Yeah, and it's like basically it's so the song, when we call song authorship, it was written by a human creator, right? But then the underlying work, the compositions, those were written by human creators. And the Grammys have a very clear thing that the Grammys represent, protect, and represent human artists and human creators. It's very clear. It's supposed to be humanly created. Yeah. Like they've already kind of solved this on their own. Yeah, where they're like, no, you can't. Like you can press the button, but you have to press the button. It can't just be generated. Yeah. But the problem is that no. The vocals, the AI modeling, it was not cleared by the labels, and therefore it's not an actual release. Oh, and by the way, it's also not commercially available because it can't be. And that's another thing that you need to have for the Grammy categories. That's also a thing you need to have a compulsory license. Yep. So the reason why we can cover songs compulsory for 12 cents per copy is that it has to be released commercially. Yeah. That means it has to have an ISRC code. It has to be available, blah, blah, blah. And this was not. Why? Because it was not cleared. Yep. So there you go. There's your little bit of Grammy history, a little bit of AI history and all that. But the vocals were not cleared. And by the way, there's two types of clearances that would have to happen on that. Yeah. You have the master recording that is owned by the label that Drake or Weeknd are signed to. So like the actual recording of their voice to the digital tape to the hard drive, that is the labels thing. Yeah. Yep. Then you also have to have, and I'm sure a lot of you have seen this, is that like Drake occurs courtesy of Sony. Yeah. So like if you're under a label deal, you can't just go sing on someone else's record because everything you create is under your contract. And so you have to get permission to do that. And that's why you see that sometimes is that Katy Perry appears courtesy of, Universal or whatever. So.
like Island, Def Jam. No, that's another label she's on.
That'd be sweet. Katy Perry appears courtesy of Sub Pop.
I remember the Sub Pop meetings. Anyway, it's just the whole thing is fascinating for me because everybody's losing their damn minds about AI, especially John Connor, because he knows what the future holds. Skynet. And, but the whole idea of, we've talked about this a few thousand times. Like this is being offered up as a legitimate artwork, right? Yeah. A work of art that is derived from the, all of the information regarding these two musicians is fed into a computer, and the computer extrapolates what they would do in a specific situation. It's like a simulation theory kind of thing, right? So, for me, I'm looking at that and I'm going, that's really fucking cool. Now, would I ever just stop there and go, look at this thing my computer made for me? No. What I would do is go, okay, this is an inspiration point. This is a springboard for me to get into some real creativity here. I like the basis of where this is starting. I like kind of this vibe. But then again, I think back to things like Blurred Lines, right? Yeah. Where there's like a very specific, Robin Thicke and Pharrell go, we want to write a Marvin Gaye type song, and they basically accidentally end up stealing "Got to Give It Up," and so
they said it in an interview. God damn it!
Yeah,
can't do that.
Oh yeah, you can't do that. I mean,
where they were listening to "Got to Give It Up" and they're like, "Yeah, we should do something that's like this." Oh my God, that will kill you.
Yeah. And I mean, I also understand, the idea of coming from a vibe place. It's like, I want to write a Marvin Gaye vibe kind of thing. I want to write a Weeknd style thing, a Drake style. What would happen if they smashed together, feed it into a computer and kind of see what happens and see what you got as a springboard. But this idea of just it's like when we did the AI Taylor Swift songs. Yeah. We just got handed a pile of garbage. And so, we were like, no, none of these are going to get there. Now, there might be a line or two here we can use, oh, yeah, that's a cool line. But, again, the idea, the thing that I always, I rub up against is this idea that, I'm using somebody's past work to inspire a future work and not giving them any credit or payment or any of that kind of stuff, even though I'm utilizing their intellectual property to springboard from. Now,
And
why
I
is
can
it
be on the
different
other side of that too and say that isn't that what we all do?
I was going to say that's what we usually do.
Doing it with the Stones guitar playing, or like if you're a drummer and you want to be a Bonham-like drummer, aren't you doing that? You're just not using the recording.
What's what Geddy Lee said was, originality comes from a point where all your influences are mashed together so much you can't tell the difference anymore.
Yeah.
So yes, we are all doing that, but I think from this triggering an AI to compose and create in a specific way with regards to a specific artist, that's where you're getting into trouble. It's the blurred lines things again. I want a song like Taylor Swift, and it writes me a Taylor Swift song. Well, shouldn't I be splitting my songwriting credit with Taylor Swift at that point?
Yeah. And this comes up in sync with sound-alikes. So there's a term for it, right?
Yeah.
Like there's a cover song, which you want it to, so like a lot of times you'll do like a heavy-duty Metallica song, and you put a chick on it and a piano, and you make it moody, and you throw that on a trailer. Boom.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a cover song, right?
Yeah.
But if you do a sound-alike, that's a little different. So this came up with Bette Midler and Sheryl Crow, where there was an advertising agency that wanted to use, let's just use the Sheryl Crow thing. They wanted to use a Sheryl Crow song, and they said, no, fuck you. This often comes up in advertising, where they say, no, you can't do it. And so what you could do is the publisher say, yeah, I want the money, and the publisher allows the song to be re-recorded. And so you re-record it, but you're walking a fine line.
Yeah.
If you get a chick in there who sounds like Sheryl Crow, because now you are misrepresenting the song, and they won in court. They basically won. Sheryl Crow got the same thing happened with Bette Midler. You can look up the case law, but basically you can't do a sound-alike, and what you don't do is fucking do it after you ask permission. Yeah, and the label said, no, we don't want to use the recording for that.
Yeah.
And exploit the song in that way. And that's kind of what's going on here. These are sound-alikes. This isn't in a Drake style or a Weeknd style. I mean, it is, but it's using their voice modeling. Yeah. And that's a sound-alike. And that's why you can't fucking do that. Yeah. Here's the thing that I find interesting, if you want to get into some deep weeds here, y'all.
Yes, I do. Of course I do. I love the weeds.
So I got some, I love weed. So I got... I got a little early access. I think I talked about this a little bit a while ago. But I have access to a platform where you can, yes, I could go and put Drake in there or Weeknd or something like that. And so why are you doing that, right? You're doing that because they're already famous. They're already popular. You put a feature on the Spotify thing, you're going to get 1 million streams. By the way, Ghostwriter did get a fuckload of streams, which had to negotiate back to Universal. And there's a whole thing that happened with that, right? But
yeah.
But here's what you can do. Think about it this way. So you're a singer. You're a songwriter. You have recordings. Go and put your voice in it. Go and put your songs in it. And then generate your own songs using your own voice. Now you can record and release 25 fucking things every month of you singing.
Oh. And I don't have to strain my voice in the studio, scraping.
You can give yourself your own rights for it. You can clear it yourself. But you don't have to do the thing. Now, the thing is that it works a lot better with people that use auto-tune, right? They use a lot with Melodyne. You know, that it's already treated digitally. That's why The Weeknd and Drake work in this. That's why they're not using... That's why Zach Brown isn't like a very good. You are Chris Stapleton. People
or,
that sing,
Death Cab for Cutie, or
or Sting.
Matthews.
Sting is flat notoriously.
Yeah,
like that kind of stuff. Raspiness. The difference between chest and head voice. The difference between like how you do some of those things. I'm afraid to do it because that platform then has the right to use your voice for other people.
Yeah.
And you're kind of giving up that right. So I'm trying to get it in my computer to try this for us.
Yeah.
Where if I have it offline, then it's not on the platform, and I have it offline, then I can do the generative AI shit here.
Yeah.
But in that sense, look, it's cheating, and it's kind of soulless, and it's fucking, it sucks. And if your fans were like, how the fuck did you record 25 songs this month?
But you can also get instrumentals and re-record the vocals yourself and put a little bit of soul into it. If you want to.
Yeah, or you can just, do a double over it, do a live thing, but like do all the heavy lifting, let the thing do the heavy lifting for you. And I mean, and that's no different than using, altar boy, like doing harmonies or stuff, or just
stuff like that.
Yeah. I mean, it's no different than some of that. So, I mean, that to me is kind of interesting to where.
Yeah, totally.
Now, and as a person who is about to embark on recording hundreds and hundreds of my own songs.
Oh, boy.
I kind of am like, ooh, this might be a way to do it.
Yeah. No kidding, right?
Like, that could be a way and that's not like to be a commercial success or anything. It's just like, I would like those songs
you want
to
catalog
be
your own stuff.
just done, and on a file, in a file somewhere. But so I find that interesting. I think that I've talked to a few label people about this, look, the people that are doing it this way, these are crypto fucking people. They're just trying to push the edge of AI to make it commercial and break the law and make them basically come after them. And they did. And, but this is why the press picks it up, because it's an interesting story.
Yeah.
But when you talk to real label people about it, it's like, how could we use this to be more efficient in actually our own artist work?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a little bit different. Like that would be an interesting thing to be like, okay, we haven't, but see, now you get into the SAG after stuff too.
Yeah.
Where it's like, okay, if a label has you signed for your recordings, let's just say it is a Katy Perry type thing.
Yeah.
And they want to make an imprint of your voice.
Yeah.
And then use an outside producer to create the underlying composition.
Yeah.
And then they ask you to, hey, throw me some lyrics and some melody. And you do a little voice note. And then they just plug in Katy Perry. And, Bob's your uncle, you got a single. And we're not too far from that being very possible, doable, and probably commercially viable.
Yeah. It's the question of okay, so... I remember we had conversations over the years of what when I'm licensing some music, when I'm syncing something, where do I draw the line on what I say yes to, right?
Yeah.
I don't want my music involved in a Norwegian whaling commercial, even though that's not a thing anymore. But you know what I mean? We're not playing my song under a clubbing baby seals,
That is. Do you remember that when I signed you and Damon?
Yeah.
That was our first conversation in that bar. Was like, I don't want my music used for clubbing baby seals. And I was like, if I ever get that brief, I'm gonna call you.
Yeah, and we still have not.
Because I don't think there are many that. There's not a clubbing baby seals club that's looking for.
Yeah,
Savage
they're looking
Henry
for.
music.
Yeah, I know, right? But the other piece of it is okay, with regards to the SAG-AFTRA thing, they're talking about if I do there were some actors they've said that had to have to some extras that they were basically scanned on their way through. And they can now do whatever they want with that body image and not pay that person for their likeness, which I think is where we're starting to rub up against this. The way I look, who I am, and what I am is my personal property, and this is my brand, and you don't get to use it without my permission.
And yet,
right?
with your permission, they just did this with Harrison Ford with Indy.
Yeah,
he said that the reason they were able. I haven't seen the new Indy film.
Yeah,
Indiana Jones.
The Dial of Destiny.
Yeah, but they're showing him younger. Yeah. And what they basically did is take all of the previous Indiana Jones, use all of those composites, and then make him do the lines, and then they just pasted that on there. Yeah. And he thought it was amazing that he could do sort of the younger guy.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, in a way, it can be good if you have permission.
Yeah.
But it comes down to the permission.
Yeah, exactly.
Side, I think. And that's why I'm wondering, the difference between a label doing this with the artist's permission and some douchebag producer that's trying to push, sorry, ghostwriter, whatever, I'm sure you're very talented. But
my God, the
stop wasting our fucking time with all this stuff. But by the way, and I'm just going to say it, the song sucks.
Yeah.
I can tell it's generative.
Yeah.
I can tell it is. I can tell that's not Drake's voice.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's missing
all of the humanity.
Yeah. But I mean, I do know that plenty of people couldn't. I know that especially younger people that aren't used to nuances of maybe you haven't listened to music for 40 fucking years or something. I get it. And you're just going to be like, yeah, it totally sounds like Drake.
Yeah, so you've been listening to music since you were -4? That's amazing.
I know. Since
well
I was
done. Okay.
well before I was in my father's balls.
Yeah. He'd
Yeah.
put a speaker to his testes and have at it. Anyway.
But yeah, I don't know. I'm interested. If I can get this offline, we're going to do an experiment with it with ours.
Yeah.
But again, I personally, look, I know it's an old guy thing, but I
Old
do
man rant.
like, I like imperfect.
I do too.
I like imperfect recordings. I like a little bit of a little bit of looseness, a little bit. I like when the voice doesn't hit exactly. I'm not an auto-tune guy. But listen, that's not the world we live in. A lot of pop music and a lot of rap music absolutely is completely tuned to the grid.
I don't like that either.
I don't care for it.
I think there's a way to utilize it to be useful. But I also think that the way that we hear music, the way that our ears hear things in our brain, because we don't actually hear things, our brain interprets things. We know this.
It creates it, yeah.
Like, it recreates it. That's right. And like, I know for a fact that if I listen to something and I go, I can see that note is perfectly on the grid. I know all the instruments are in tune. Why does it sound sharp to me?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that is something that you, and so, if I go into, Melodyne then, and I'm able to, manually drag that down by 4 or 5 cents, all of a sudden I'm like, oh, that sounds better to me. That sits better for me. It lets me know that the grid is not perfect. Well-tempered tuning is not, we know it's not perfectly in tune.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, you have to give it has to be filtered through a human being for it to sound like it should.
Although I also will allow this. I do understand that some of this has to do with genre. You're doing electronica music.
Yeah.
You're doing some rap kind of music. Like, I get it. Like, that's not my preferred genre for music that moves me.
Yeah.
But like, I don't mind like an EDM song that has like a very over-processed voice that's perfect on.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be mechanical,
Daft
right?
Punk.
Like, part of it is supposed to be that way. That's not the music that moves me, and maybe the music I want to do drugs and go to the club to or whatever. But the music that moves me is very emotional. The vocals are emotional and they're real, and I can tell, and I can hear breath, and I can hear a scratch on the strings. I can hear, a tick on the stick of the. I can hear things.
Yeah.
And so, but that's just me. Like I understand that.
I like
Say
the
maybe you're
humanity of it.
22 years old or, whatever, and you're in your 20s, and you're like, no, I love fucking electric music. I love like kind of AI kind of music.
Yeah.
Maybe that is going to be the future. It's not the future I want to help fight for, though. Like, good for you. Let's duke it out. Yeah. But I still want I want some junk on my vocals.
Me too. Want some content there.
That's right.
Oh, that's right. That was
All
a good
right,
rant
let's
there, buddy.
Get to this think of the week. Week. You want to go first on this one?
Yeah. Again, I'm still bendering my comfort food shows, as I'm working through a whole bunch of stuff, and so I've been watching Gilmore Girls because I love it so. And
I don't want to wait.
No. Did you just Dawson's Creek at Gilmore?
I totally did.
Dick.
For my sandwich to get colder, I want to eat it right now.
Oh,
There's a Family Guy thing on that.
Yes, there are. There is. Oh my gosh.
Him standing on that fucking boat. Okay, sorry. Gilmore Girls? Yes. Love Gilmore Girls. Rory.
Okay, yeah. So, of course, it's a very musically dense show. It's Amy Sherman Palladino and her husband, Daniel Palladino, with creators and major contributors to that. The last episode they were involved with, there was one season after they kind of, stopped writing and stopped creating, which was, but the end of season 6, the small town they live in has a town troubadour, right? And the town troubadour leaves town to go on tour with Neil Young, right? So in season 6, episode 22, all of these musicians start like flowing into town to take over the town troubadour situation. So we've got, and I'm talking like Yola Tango and Sonic Youth. So there's Kim Gordon and all, it's all this kind of stuff, right? But my favorite one is they're walking across the street at one point in time, and you come across Ron and Russell Mael of Sparks, right?
Wow.
And they are playing the song Perfume, and they're just sitting there, just having it. It's so well placed. And, you know, Sparks are mentioned probably about 7 or 8 times throughout the series. And every time they mention him, I get really excited because I love Sparks.
You are a big Sparks fan.
And, you know, well, it's Dr. Demento turned me on to, you know, like Sparks. You know, same reason
Google
I love
that,
Weird
folks.
Al.
Google that.
Weird Al and Frank Zappa and all that kind of, you know, like even, you know, not what am I thinking of here? Never mind. I lost my train of thought on that. But anyway, Perfume, Sparks in the Town Troubadour episode, and they're, you know, performing a version of it which is not the version that's on the record that came out. But it's an interesting. It's really, really fun to watch. Like all these like musicians kind of pop up here and there. Like Carole King.
Wow.
You know, wrote the theme song, and is also the owner of a music store in the show. Sebastian Bach is a guitar player in one of the characters' bands. And he owns a sandwich shop. So it's like, you know, there's like really fun little like stuff like that going on.
Shout out to Sebastian Bach, one of the best Canadians ever.
Just a delightful man.
He really is.
So I couldn't find a music soup on this, but there's a guy, they had a music clearance manager named Leo T on this one.
Leo T.
And I'm curious as to, like, I just could not find a music soup on it. I'm guessing the creators called in some favors.
Yeah.
You know, or something like that. And he was responsible for clearing their versions of their songs they performed on set.
It was probably Ocean Way or PJ Bloom. It was one of those.
Yeah, probably. You know,
I wish I was back in that. Was that a CW show?
Or
was it a
WB or whatever it was? Yeah.
Man, I wish I was pitching back in the day. I never pitched to Gilmore Girls.
I love that show a lot. I really do. It's like just like you know, it's the same reason I love The West Wing. It's the energy of the conversation. They're always caffeinated up, and how two women that eat like those two do manage to maintain those svelte figures is pretty incredible to me.
No
you know?
shit. No shit. Well, that's a good one.
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks.
Mine is from Only Murders in the Building.
Oh, season 3.
I am on season 3.
Oh, good. It's so good.
And actually, just the other night, I saw episode 3, I believe.
Revenge
and
of the
there is
Sith?
a song that is from the newly imagined Death Rattle, the musical. So they're doing this play, Death Rattle, and then the star of the play, Paul Rudd. It's jam-packed this year with Paul Rudd's in it, and he dies. And so they got to kind of keep this play alive, and Martin Short's character turns it into a musical.
Perfect.
And so it's Death Rattle, the musical.
Next.
And there's, you know, it's supposed to be a showstopper. They need to come up with a showstopper song that's like a big musical song. And but he ends up writing this like really song with heart. And he writes it on Chinese takeout menus. And so one of the characters, and I'm not going to give away too much here, but Meryl Streep is in it this year.
Yeah,
and
I knew that.
Fucking amazing. And so she finds this song, and he kind of plays it a little bit, and it's this nanny in this new play / musical.
Yeah.
And so he's like, yeah, it's not a showstopper song. They got to play it for the producers. And she's like, yeah, but it's the heart of the show. You need to play it. And he's like, I'll only do it if you'll sing it. And so she sings it. And it's called Look for the Light. And this song is fucking amazing. It was written for the show.
I love it.
And I'm watching it, and I'm just sitting there going, this is such professional Broadway songwriting.
Yeah.
It has the threes going into the chorus, but the lift goes into a major. There's all these little things when you've written musicals. Then I've written some musical songs where I'm like, oh my God, they did it. And like, I'm just waiting. I'm watching it and listening to it as a songwriter. And like, every time it was like, oh, perfect, hit that, nailed the landing there. The rhyming structure here is perfect. Like I'm just, the whole time it's just a joy as a songwriter to listen to. And it's a good song. And Meryl Streep is killing it, by the way.
I love it. Yeah.
Meryl Streep is singing it. Well, this song was written by Sarah Bareilles.
Get out. Of course it was.
And Binge, Pasek, and Justin Paul. Pasek and Paul, which is a very big, Broadway songwriting group or team. They did Dear Evan Hansen. They did the music in Spirited, that Christmas show that was amazing on Apple TV.
Ryan Reynolds and Will Ferrell, is that right?
They have an Oscar, a Grammy, a Tony, a Golden Globe. All they're missing is an Emmy to get the EGOT. They're very close. But anyway, it's called Look for the Light, Season 3, Episode 3. Yes, it's a musical song. Yes, it's kind of a ballad. But it is, if you're a songwriter and you like musical music, it is fucking perfection. It's going to win shit. It is so good. And not to mention Meryl Streep does a great job of singing it. But anyone that, like, this could be on any musical stage, and it is right there. And as we know, Sarah Bareilles, Waitress, and the stuff she did on Broadway, it's perfection. It's perfection, and it's great, and it deserves a lot of love. So there you go.
I love it. Awesome. Good choice, man. That's great.
Yeah, not bad.
I'm excited to catch up now.
Yeah. All right, let's wrap this sucker up. Press pause, Kelsey. Shh. Okay. Remember to rate and subscribe. Give us 5 stars. Leave a hilarious comment on Apple Podcasts. By the way, leave us more cuss words on Apple Podcasts. We don't have enough cuss words on there.
We don't have enough. A lot of 4-letter words. We need more.
Yes, a lot of 4-letter.
Quota we got to meet every week.
Start them with C, end them with T. See what you can come up with. That's a good place to start.
Can't.
Kurt.
Oh, I know both of them.
Clint. Oh, anyway, you can follow us at 2ShotsMusicPod. You can email us, 2ShotsMusicPod@gmail.com, 2ShotsMusicPod@gmail.com. By the way, if you ever want to listen to the show just for free, for funsies, just go to 2ShotsMusicPod.com. You can find all the shows, the little experiments that we do, get a hold of us, do all that stuff right there on our own very website. And we love you, YouTube people. Thank you for coming into YouTube.
Thank you.
We might be going to video here sometime. We'll see. We might get some video coming up.
So exciting.
Yeah, very exciting, very exciting. Very exciting. So until we talk to you next week, we hope you write a great song. You're looking great. You're smelling great. Feel great about yourself. Do great work.
Feeling great.
Feeling great.
Feeling fine. Enjoy. Love you.
All right. Love you guys. Bye.